Hello, welcome back to our special edition of Finance Speaks. I'm your host, Kyle Sadler, President of Precept Wealth Management and best-selling author of I'm Retired, Now What? Our special edition video series has been designed to assist public school employees in the great state of Texas as they prepare to transition into retirement. Because of my focus and passion for transitioning and educating active workers into retirement, I have built a 19-year career specializing in pension systems of all industries and managing retirement assets. This video is a small representation of the information and services I provide for my clients. I invite all individuals and couples to watch this video. However, if you're an organization or a school district and wish to broadcast this video, I ask that you please contact my office to receive written consent for this copywritten material. Better yet, give us a call. I would be more than happy to personally deliver your organization a customized presentation. Okay, before we dive in, I need to make a safe harbor statement because there are a lot of teacher retirement imposters. Please note that I do not work for the Teacher Retirement System of Texas, nor am I affiliated or endorsed. In fact, and to make sure that we do not provide this appearance, we have changed the forms to not violate copyright laws. However, all information we discuss today regarding teacher retirement can be found on their website. Okay, legal stuff finished. Let's do some paperwork exploration. Our focus in this video is to address the additional benefit options offered and ancillary forms required to complete the paperwork process. Before we discuss the partial lump sum, we need to address the fact that if the partial lump sum is selected, it will reduce your monthly pension payment, no matter which pension payment you choose. We are going to explore this reduction more shortly, so bear with me. Whether or not you take the partial lump sum distribution is an individual decision based on many factors to determine if it is the right option for you. Based on my experiences and knowledge, I feel that the most defining of the factors is to consider your income needs at retirement. Another is to consider your money management skills. No, I'm not referring to how you would invest the money, but how you handle money daily. Again, we're going to speak more on investing shortly, so hang in there. Too often, I have people question me about the partial lump sum, and after questioning them about the investments and savings, I discover that they are not the best candidates at managing their own assets. Maybe I find they only have a minimal or to no savings, and yes, this may be an indicator as to why they shouldn't take on this option. Sometimes it's in the manner in which they construct their plan to spend the money that it may be to their best interest to forego this option and take one of the pension options without the partial lump sum. Spending habits are very important to consider. Also, all money should have a defined purpose. What is this money going to be earmarked for? Look at the fact that how long until you're going to need it. Maybe you're retiring from public education, but not from working totally. As I have discussed in other videos and with my clients, sometimes lump sum payments, such as this one, can be used to offset and be used for inflation protection for future income. The key here is looking at the partial lump sum without blinders and asking these questions and then more. The reason I want you to consider your decision is because once you make it, you can never go back and change your mind. If this money is not properly managed, once it's gone, it's never coming back. Let's say that you have decided that the advantages outweigh the opposition. Electing a partial lump sum distribution and rolling it over into an eligible retirement plan, such as an IRA, will allow an individual to invest a substantial amount of money, tax deferred, which will in turn allow you to control taxable distributions in the future. It will also allow you to have access to funds not readily available through a retirement pension. If you set up properly, you could use this money like having a water faucet. You can turn it on and off. You can turn it on high flow, you can turn it on low flow of income coming out. You can turn it off completely and let it grow, all because you have the control. An example for the partial lump sum I like to use is my mother. I retired her about 10 years ago. My mom was ready to exit education, but not ready to retire. She took the partial lump sum and continued to work. She never accessed it until recently. Because we set her up in a well-diversified portfolio, the money was allowed to grow and doubled during that time period. Now, not all results are going to be the same, as you will hear in every commercial for products being sold. But the key is that she didn't touch the money, and now because she didn't access it, her total retirement income will be greater than if she wouldn't have taken that option. Okay, before you make that final decision, let's go back and explore the various lump sum options. Okay, we're now looking back at the service estimate for retirement. And as you can see, there are 3 lump sum options: the 12-month, 24-month, and 36-month lump sum options, and the corresponding pension payout options. So what this grid says, and let's use the 36-month option for this example, is choosing this option, your pension lump sum payment would be $129,952.80. Okay, just a little aside, not trying to sell you anything, but let me highly encourage you to roll that money over into a qualified retirement plan. I'll tell you why in just a little bit. Let's further this example and say that because you elect this lump sum option, you decided on option 2. Your reduced monthly amount would be $2,428.23 for the rest of your life. After I explain this, some people are taken back in disbelief. So please forgive me because this is where I clarify some confusion. Yes, you can take the partial lump sum and you still get to choose a pension payout option. No, you're not taking a full distribution and only receiving the lump sum amount. You receive the lump sum amount and the monthly pension payment. So with this example, hopefully you'll understand this grid. Just remember, you will want to evaluate your monthly expenses to decide which pension option and if the partial lump sum is right for you. So if you do decide that the lump sum option is the option you want to take, you will need to complete the, wait for it, partial lump sum option election form. As you can see, it has 3 options that you can choose. However, the pension system allows additional options of taking the 1, 2, or 3 annual payments, but please just note that if you take the 2 or 3 annual payment options as of this video, the pension system will not pay you interest while holding your money over that time period. Okay, lastly, don't forget to sign this form. Oh, you thought you were finished with the partial lump sum paperwork. Yep, even though you signed it, even though you sent it in, about 1 month prior to your retirement, the pension system will send you another form for you to sign. However, this time, this form will need to be signed by a financial counselor that you've been working with. Okay, and back to the retirement packet. The next form you'll find in your packet is the income tax withholding form. You will need to fill out this form in its entirety. Unfortunately, everyone's tax situation is unique, and I have to recommend that you speak with your tax advisor as to your withholding. But if this was my wife's retirement packet, I might complete the allowances like I had her W-2 completed with the school district. The reason being is that most of the individuals transitioning into retirement will not see a significant change in their taxation. However, you may not be part of the norm, so just to be on the safer side, make that call to your tax preparer. Think you might want to make a change later on down the road after you retire? This form can be found on the TRS website and may be changed at any time. Yes, this is one of the only adjustments you can make post-retirement. All right, don't forget, sign and date this form. Next up, where would you like your money deposited? This form is pretty straightforward and you should be familiar with completing the direct deposit. If you're having difficulties, please asking one of the bankers at your local bank to assist you with completing this form could be my best advice for you. Oh yeah, don't forget to sign this form. And now, for my favorite form, the Notice of Final Deposit. Why is this my favorite? Because it's the form that tells your school district, I'm out of here. So, the instructions are very clear with this form. Please do not write at all on this form. This form can only be completed by your payroll or human resources department within your school district. Now, some school districts have additional requirements like a letter of retirement or a form or a final meeting. Whatever the case, the absolute is the school district requires this form to be submitted without any marks or writing on it. So, just a word of warning, if you do write on this form, teacher retirement will not accept it. I know what your question is. When should I turn this in? Here's my suggestion, at least 1 month prior to your retirement. But Kyle, I don't want anyone at my school district to know, or I don't want the party. Okay, let me address that statement by simply stating this. You've earned this party. You deserve this party. And there are some of your coworkers that this is where they get their gratification from. You may not want it, but your coworkers might want to share their appreciation for you. I have actually seen this cause hurt feelings for those that didn't let it happen. Here's another one. I'm not letting anyone know. They'll find out as I'm walking out the door. Another that I probably get once or twice a year. Kyle, I need your assistance with my retirement packet. Well, great. When are you planning on retiring? Yeah, I don't think I'm going back tomorrow. Yes, unfortunately, I've seen this one too. Just remember, your notice of final deposit is what separates your retirement check from your checking account. Not saying that this would happen, but paperwork has a way of getting misplaced. Okay, last bit of information that is required to turn in with your retirement packet is a legible copy of your driver's license or birth certificate. The pension system does not need a certified copy, and please do not send them the original. You may not see it back. Just a nice legible copy. Did you elect options 1, 2, or 5 for your pension payment? Well, you will also need to include a copy of your primary beneficiary's driver's license or birth certificate if you did. Boom! Retirement packet complete. So, now you mail it to the pension system in Austin. My greatest recommendation is to have your completed retirement packet submitted to Teachers Retirement no later than 30 days prior to your retirement date from the district. I believe that any later, you are going to be running the risk of delaying your first check. But don't worry, it's not that you're going to forfeit by delaying. Well, maybe you do. You see, the pension system has only a small look-back window. However, there is usually about a 30 to 60-day processing period, so delays and forfeitures could happen. Please start planning now. Okay, now we're ready to retire. Wait, we still have another round of paperwork. Yep, you guessed it. For those retiring with full benefits, your health insurance benefits paperwork will be sent only after Teachers Retirement has received your retirement packet. Can I change my mind about the options I have chosen? Yes. Participants have until the day prior to their first check being deposited in their checking account to make adjustments. But what if I change my mind and I don't want to retire? Yes, again, you can change your mind up until the day prior to your first check being deposited. And trust me, I have people do both all the time. Just remember, not only do you have to call the pension, but also you'll be required to make changes in writing. And now you're on track to retiring. This concludes the paperwork phase in retiring from public education in the great state of Texas. The next video in this series will discuss the health insurance benefit plans for retired public school employees. However, we're going to do something a little unique for the next portion of this series. Because the plans for Medicare eligible retirees and non-Medicare eligible retirees are different, we want to provide the pertinent information to those that may be interested. So we hope that you join us for one or the other videos, or heck, even both. If you have questions or concerns, or if you'd like a personalized retirement strategy where we discuss your teacher retirement, along with your personal financial objectives, please do not hesitate to contact me for an appointment. Oh, you don't live in the area, but you still wish to have an appointment with me? No problem. Technology is our friend. Let's have a video call that will knock your socks off. We thank you for watching our program and hope that you have discovered some takeaway points that will benefit your retirement process. For additional financial videos that may be important to you and your financial security, please like, subscribe, and share. And please, if you find these videos to be a viable resource, we ask that you please share them with your friends in public education and other organizations. Also, don't forget to visit us at www.preceptwm.com for additional information and guidance. For Finance Speaks, I'm Kyle Sadler, headed out until next time. Be blessed and have a stupendous day.